Don't you hate it when you're leading the race, but then you remember you raced for Ferrari? Don't you hate it when you listen to your heart and not your head and decide to drive for Ferrari?
All right, Dominic, that was a really good cold open. Now let's go to the intro blurb.
Welcome to Tinfoil Helmet, your occasional spicy hot take roundup of the latest F1 rumours, all with almost believable conspiracy theories to back them up. Everything here is carefully researched for hours to make sure it is totally founded in logic, reason, and truth. Or not. Who knows? Shall we see if we got anything right?
I wish I got more things right. It would have been a more interesting race.
It felt like we were close on this one, but somehow we just missed it. Just like Oscar Piastri.
I actually watched this one live at 6 a.m. West Coast time.
Bold move.
And then I was really upset I was awake. And then I was like, oh, maybe it's getting interesting. Nope. This episode brought to you by the Blue Angels, America's best air demonstration team.
Do we have more than one?
Oh, there's the Thunderbirds.
I've never heard of that. Oh, we did discuss this before, didn't we?
Yes.
And they're in props.
No, that's the props are like the Italians.
Oh, okay then.
The Canadian snowbirds are in jet trainers. There are civilian teams, air demonstration teams, that are in prop aircraft.
That doesn't count.
Right. But as far as like military demonstration teams, the Blue Angels. And I think like technically there's also the Army, I think Black Knights is what they're called, which is like people jumping out of helicopters and parachuting down. So technically also an aerial demonstration team, just more of like how well humans can fall to the ground versus, staying
in
jets.
the air.
Yeah.
Normal course of operations, you just stay in the air.
The Black Knights or the Golden Knights?
Okay. While you research that, I will recap what my suggestions were and your suggestions and who got right, yes, no, and maybe. I suggested that Oscar hands the win to Lando on the last lap and then pretends to, and then drives past him while flipping him off. It almost happened because Oscar kind of did hand it to Lando because he bollocksed up his last dive bomb. I also suggested that Lewis would take pole, which was a no. Finishes P7, almost, kind of. Leclerc would finish in P6, kind of. And who qualified P5? It's the Golden Knights.
The U.S. Army parachute team, the Golden Knights.
The Golden Knights.
The Black Knights are the West Point mascot.
Golden Knights sounds like the kind of display team that would require you for photo ID verification in the United Kingdom.
Sure.
You suggested that George would beat Max to the podium.
He did.
Yeah, he did.
He also beat Charles to the podium.
Yeah, that's very annoying. You suggested that Kimi would do a Bottas impression.
Yes. Not in any sense of the word.
No, but Oscar almost did.
He did almost, and that would have been great. Let's be honest. We would have had a George Russell Fernando Alonso podium.
So between race drama, did anything happen between the races this week?
I don't think so. Not much. We got, despite all of Fred's statements in the media this year, he's on the job for another 3 years.
Well, it says multi-year. It could be 2.
I thought it was 3.
More than 1.
I thought I saw 3.
Okay. Maybe that's more details than I saw. Fred kept his job, which probably means he's getting fired before the end of the summer break. But we'll see what happens.
Hey, that is a good way to get yourself some extra cash when you can sign a contract with guaranteed money and they get yourself immediately fired.
It's exactly the classic Ferrari.
Christian Horner should give a team principal seminar on how to Christian and Otmar should do a team principal seminar on how to maximize your cash flow.
Are you signing with a top team? Do you need contract advice? Call the Otmar and Horner specialist consultants.
As Alpine has proved, it does not have to be a top team.
They think they're a top team.
Well, I will say they're one of the top 10 Formula One teams in the world.
Exactly, top 10. It's perfect. Max also kept his job because he said that he's staying at Red Bull for 2026, despite meeting with Toto Wolff in Sardinia.
I'm not sure that's necessarily like Max kept his job versus Max decided he didn't want to change jobs.
Sure, but he chose to keep it, just like I choose to keep my sandwich fresh. He chose to keep his job. I don't know why I said sandwich. Maybe because I'm hungry. Nobody else had any other. There was no other between race drama. Nothing really happened. Which is
if anything, no.
It's only a week.
Apparently, the Hungaroring got repaved between last year's GP and this year's GP.
And it got a new pit thingy and a new stadium, and they completely redid it, and it looks very fancy, actually. I quite like the look of it.
I did like the painted out black pit line exit, or the painted out pit line exit. That's like, no, we need to make this a little smaller.
The thing is if they spent all that time doing that work to make things just so, could they have introduced some more overtaking spots, maybe, possibly? But then, wouldn't it be the same track?
I mean, I do like the idea of the Hungaro ring.
Yeah, I just think something needs to be tweaked a little bit to enable it to have more overtaking spots, because at the moment it's a bit of a challenge.
Maybe we'll see with the era of active aero we are about to enter. Maybe
Z mode and X mode.
Maybe that will change things up. I do think this is another example of, if the car in front of you has DRS, you do not get DRS. I think this is another one of those tracks.
Yes. Otherwise, we would have possibly had a more exciting race, but we didn't.
Right.
So do we want to see if anybody still has jobs, despite the fact we just talked about two people who do still have jobs?
Yeah, let's do it.
Is Lewis going to resign? I think this is very important, because both after qualifying, where he dropped out in Q2 and P13, he was asked what his verdict was and what was wrong with the car. And he said nothing. I'm useless. It's all me. They should change the driver. And then today, post-race, where he finished where he started, I think, he was asked more about what was that statement about, and he says, nothing, not particularly. When you have a feeling, you have a feeling. There is a lot going on in the background that is not great.
That makes it sound like Ferrari is as toxic as we think they are.
I think Lewis is going to resign / get fired before the end of the summer break. But we'll talk about that later. Lewis is...
Can you resign as an ambassador, or just like... Because that was the whole big thing, right? He wanted to be an ambassador.
Yeah, and what does that mean for his Mission 44? Maybe that's the only thing that's keeping him going. Moving on to quali, a nice segue from Lewis not being very good at his job, because he qualified in P13. The Astons were really good in quali, like constantly posting top lap times, and ended up, what was it, P5 and P6, P7 or something like that?
Yeah, well, I mean, Lance Stroll then immediately lost positions on the start, but that's a different issue.
Well, yeah, no, we're talking about
P5 and P6.
Yeah, it was really good, which is very confusing considering they were the slowest last week.
Not to mention Boratello in Q3. Both the Visa Cash App Racing Bulls in Q3. It was an all Red Bull 8, 9, 10.
8, 9, 10. That's what you get for being the top team who's won the last four world champions.
Well, this is, I think, the Louis Mankey era, and he still likes his old team, he likes his new team, and he's just trying to get them all as close together as he can.
Because he's going for the first 4-car team in Formula 1.
Something like that.
And then we did some qualifying, and it all looked like McLaren was going to walk away with this, and then they both bottled it, and then ended up in, P2 and P4? Was it? P2, P3?
P2, P3. George Russell in P4.
And it should be noted that Charles Leclerc was on pole with a lap time that was a full, I think, 8/10 slower than the P1 lap time in Q2.
5/10.
Still pretty big margin to be slower in Q3 for pole.
For the most part, though, everybody was slower in Q3. Nobody really picked it up.
What was Charles's pace in Q2 relative to his
everybody
Q1?
was slower in Q3 than they were in Q2. He was actually no, Charles is the outlier. He was 1/10 up on his Q2 time. Everybody else was slower.
There you go. That's what you call a brilliant go.
So the consistent tractor is the best of the tractors.
Correct. Remember, consistency over performance.
Yeah.
Anyway, that meant that Charles was showing Lewis, who is boss. And it was a totally weird grid because Max was down in P8, if I remember correctly.
Yep, P8.
Yeah, P8, which is, I think, where he finished.
No, he was 9th.
He was 9th. So he went backwards. Quali was really weird. There was such a big shift and all over the place, and people weren't qualifying in the right places, and it was all very surprising because of probably the weather.
It was. I mean, it's a little bit of, so it's a brand new track surface, and then it rained overnight. It like rained on and off, not during any session, but enough to like clean off any rubber that had been laid down. So yeah, it's a weird session.
Yep. Should we move on to the race?
We are blitzing through this podcast.
I know, because it was a nothing burger. So just to make sure
this podcast could have been a TikTok.
This could have been a TikTok. But that would require me to understand how to TikTok, and I don't think I can dance.
Fair enough.
Whoop whoop. So they went round in circles for 70 laps, and that's basically it. So are we done for the episode? Oh, no, wait, something did happen.
Yeah.
Charles did not bottle the start.
No, he had a great start.
Yeah.
He was looking really good in that first stint.
Yeah. And then apparently Ferrari bottled the car. Or something bottled the car.
Yeah, so granted I was tired. It was like 6:30 in the morning or something. And I was trying to see if I was going to go back to sleep or watch a Formula 1 race. And I was watching a Formula 1 race. And Martin was saying something about like there's just like automatic wing changes they do. But in this case, like when they go from like a medium to a hard tire. And in this case, like Charles really didn't want that wing change. And they did it anyway. And it just kind of nuked the car.
So supposedly, Fred has come out and said that the chassis was broken and they weren't even sure that Charles was going to be able to finish the race, and that's why they made the change.
What a convenient conspiracy theory.
Ferrari making stuff up? Shocker.
Well, they are Italian.
They are Italian, and Carlos outed them by said, "Please stop inventing, guys." So
yeah,
let's hold on. But then Lando did bottle the start.
He bottled it so bad.
He ended up in 5th or 6th.
Yeah. He was behind Alonso for a little bit. He got passed by... He was trying so hard to get past Oscar in the opening phase because of what happened last week that he then lost 2 positions to George and Fernando.
Which I fully accept that Fernando can get in front of him, but I am disappointed that he let George through, which is unacceptable.
So the biggest thing here is really like, the bottled start put him on like we might as well try for a 1-stop rather than the 2-stop that everybody thought was going to be the proper race. And, Max was the first to pit, and it really didn't seem like that 2-stop was going to, because nobody else like pulled the trigger on it, like at all. Oscar did, and then George did, and Charles did. So they were kind of like, and then Lando just kept driving, and then they all pitted again, and Oscar...
Before the race, it was announced that the single 1-stop race was 20 or 18 seconds, I think it would have been 18 seconds slower than a 2-stop. And yet again, the tyre pit stop predictions were all wrong, because they're pretty much always wrong about exactly how it goes down. But it does look like a 1-stop worked. If they'd had one more lap, though. One more lap.
Yeah, I mean, I think the real story of this race is like, we talked, you looked at Belgium and Lando coming back at Oscar, and Oscar suddenly had the pace and Lando bottled it. Like, this was very clear. If Oscar needed to close down, something like 8 seconds in almost the same amount of laps that Lando had to close down 8 seconds in terms of raw lap count. But the lap at Hungary is a lot shorter than the Spa lap.
Yeah.
And, man, Oscar was cruising up. I was watching the timing tower, and it was like every time it updated, it was like another 10th. It was insane how quick he was closing it.
He was just cranking it down, and he was helped a lot by traffic.
That's part of it.
That's part of it, but I think he did pretty well, and I'm disappointed that he bottled it by locking up into, lap 68, which basically said it was all over bar the count at that point.
Yeah, it was the second to last lap he locked up, so then on the last lap he was just a little too far back to try to, or the last go into turn 1 he was a little too far back.
I think this continues to reinforce that Lando is terrible at overtaking on track. Either his car has to be faster, or the strategy gets him, and the strategy got him in this case. Through sheer luck, I think, rather than forethought and planning.
Yeah, there was... Oscar had an overtake on somebody. Oh, it was Oscar's overtake on Charles. That was like, Oscar is here to race. And then it was like Lando's overtake on Alonso. That was just like, okay, you just need DRS to go past somebody.
I think this is very important about Mr. Fernando. You watched him, and he let the top 3 through. He let Charles through, he let Lando through, and he let Piastri through when they needed to come through on various other laps. But not when George showed up. Fernando was like, "Hello, George. I don't really like you," and then decided basically to completely and utterly block him, even if it meant sacrificing lap time, and it was glorious.
Yeah, there is some amount of Alonso knows who he's racing going into these sorts of things. Yes,
but I think that even if he thought he was racing, didn't think he was racing George, he did it on purpose because he didn't want to deal with George. What else happened? There were some overtakes, as we've just discussed, but those were easy overtakes, and then there were other overtakes, right?
Yeah, there were. I mean, I do think Monaco without the walls is a bad descriptor of this track because like there is overtakes. Max got some overtakes done in spots where you really don't think there should be overtakes.
Yeah,
but he couldn't overtake to save his life on the straights. Like
he was stuck behind Liam Lawson for so many laps, and I don't understand why Liam didn't just let him pass. / somebody was on the phone telling to let Liam to let Max pass.
Well, that makes the collusion look a little bit more colludy.
True. And I suspect at this point Lawson knows he's not getting the seat ever again. So what's the point? He just needs to fight for his own life, let alone anybody else's.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, Yuki made some sort of comment around free practice of like that they should merge the setups of his setup and Max's setup to try to understand the car a little bit more. And it seems like in the era of Christian Horner, it was we need to do our best to make sure Max wins because winning is the most important thing. And Louis is, doing this whole, we need to understand everything. And if we learn something along the way, that's great. And winning isn't everything. And I'm sorry, but this is a sport. Winning is everything.
But he's just teeing it up for next year. He wants to be sure that he can win next year because he gets a free pass for the rest of the season.
With everything that they have done with this current Red Bull and how it's designed and all the chaos and everything else, and all the rumors about the engine being terrible, Max is going to have his exit clause by like June 1st. It does not look good for Red Bull. I think we could conceivably be in a place next year. Well, I mean, maybe not because the Racing Bulls are going to have the same engines, I assume. But, I think we could conceivably be in a spot next year where if they didn't have the same engines, the Racing Bulls would be faster than the Red Bulls.
What year was that before? They had Ferrari engines and then they were testing them out and it turns out that they were performing, or they had the Renault engine or something when they were good and they were outperforming Red Bull in that season too.
Yeah, 2008, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
Because that was the year Vettel won in a Toro Rosso.
Yes. In Italy with the Ferrari engine.
Yep.
So it was terrible.
Exactly what the Tifosi want.
A Ferrari engined car winning in Monza. It's perfect.
Yeah.
There were some overtakes, and there was Max, and Max got investigated because it looked like he might have shoved Lewis off the road, but it didn't really. Apparently, Max went to the steward's office after the race and talked about it, and he said, "I don't understand why I'm here." Lewis didn't bother to turn up, and apparently Lewis didn't bother to turn up, and apparently Lewis didn't think it was particularly noteworthy that happened.
I would have loved Lewis to show up just to be like, "Why are we here?"
Yeah. He's too busy launching his vaping line that will undoubtedly launch next week. And then
that doesn't seem to jive with his other like more healthy initiatives.
I know, but he keeps saying, "Gotta follow the smoke," and that's a bit.
Maybe he's trying to be elected Pope.
Could be he's going to take out the current one.
Leo,
take out. No, we can't take out Leo.
Can't take out
the doggy. The Pope. It's like the pipe. Da Pope. The only other noteworthy overtake was when George managed to make it past Charles, who spent the previous lap whining. To be clear, that's George spent whining that Charles moved under braking.
Oh my gosh, that was terrible.
Oh, it was terrible. And even though I think it was a bit of a late break and move that Charles did on the next lap when George actually made it past, if you listen to the audio that happened, the engine note didn't change until after Charles had moved to block him. But, Charles was clearly making desperate moves at that point because he was having a terrible race.
It was clearly desperate moves, but also if George clutched his pearls any harder, they would snap.
I don't like George, and it's frustrating. At one point, I was hopeful for him, but now he's just annoying.
My two least favorite drivers on the grid are probably George Russell, because he just complains, and Lando Norris, because it feels like he just needs to be coached throughout the entire race in a way that no other driver does. And I'm aware that this could be selective, like race broadcast radio messages. And I'm sure the other drivers are getting a little bit of assistance in the sense of like, hey, you're losing time in this turn. Hey, you're losing time in this turn. But I feel like every radio we get with Lando is some sort of, you need to do better in this turn. This turn is where it's at. It's all driver coaching.
Here's a question for you, though. You've got George and Lando, and they're right up against it on the final 5 laps. And either of them could win. Who are you rooting for?
A crash, the safety car, Burt Mylander. Bring it up.
Oh wow, you like you're not willing to accept that you've got to pick one most hated child to be favor over the other hated child. You're like, no, I want them to both go out in a ball of metaphorical flames.
Yeah, or as long as they're safe, actual flames too.
Okay.
Because as much like I might get canceled for this, but hey, who knows? Like, I'm very happy Roman Grosjean is okay, and it's partly the reason I feel comfortable saying this is because he did walk out of that.
Yes.
That was a really cool fireball. I mean, it was terrifying to watch, and it was terrifying for a little bit where you're like, oh, is Roman okay? And then now that we know Roman is okay, that was a really cool fireball.
One per season?
Yeah. No. Like one per decade. I don't need like a fireball that often because they're dangerous. People could get hurt. It's like if you ever watch MotoGP crashes and you're like, after they walk away, you're like, wow, that was a really impressive slide and tumble. Like, how did you do that and not break every bone in your body? So it's impressive after the fact once you know everybody is safe and okay.
So once per decade, so we're saying Lando, George in a fiery fireball that they both walk away completely safe from. Nobody's injured. 2030, because that'd be next decade.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. We should put that on long-term.
Well, no. Because 2020, because that crash happened in 2020, was part of the previous decade. So sometime before 2030. Yeah.
I see. You're saying once per decade. So if we had it one in 2020 and one in 2021, we'll be 2030. Now you're saying anytime.
Yeah.
Got it.
Because 2020 is technically the 2010s decade.
Okay.
Because
not
there was no
rolling
year zero.
window.
Yeah.
Yeah. No rolling window.
Yeah.
Once per actual epoch.
Yeah.
Got it. Perfect. Makes sense. Okay, great.
Yeah, because like you had Jos Verstappen being a fireball in the 90s.
Yeah.
Was anybody a fireball in the 2000s?
Somebody must have done.
I know Massa drove away with his refueling hose still attached.
Kimi
was a fireball.
Yes, very briefly. I think it was in Austin, and he just drove around until the flames went out.
Nice.
Classic
very
Kimi.
Iceman of him.
Yes, exactly. So yes, we're on target.
Then 2011 to 2020, we had Roman Grosjean being a fireball.
Yeah.
So sometime in the next 5 years, we're going to get another fireball.
Okay. And everybody's going to be safe. I just need to make sure the universe is fully aware.
I don't want anybody injured. Yeah. I just occasionally want to see a fireball. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else about the race?
Lando was coached. Did they fire Hannah Schmidt with that strategy?
No, not yet.
For Red Bull. George got sweat on his visor again, or maybe it was raining on the track.
That was the first words out of my mouth when I saw it from Mercedes saying rain in turn, whatever the hell it was. I'm like, is George sweating again? And the answer was yes.
Lewis seems to hate his life.
Yeah. Charles hates his life.
Lando got an undeserved win because he screwed up and lucked onto the best strategy.
Yeah.
That's about all I got.
The Hulk wasn't on the podium, but he did a good recovery from a jump start that I'm not sure he should have got 5 points for, but then he stopped on the second lap for no apparently other good reason and managed to end up in some reasonable position, so good for him.
Huzzah.
Yeah. Driver of the day / who couldn't wait for it to be over. My driver of the day is Mr. Fernando Alonso, because A, he kept it in a great position, and he drove his own race. He screwed with George, which really gives him at least a 10-point bump for me. And actually had a great race at the end of the day, pulled off a good one-stop strategy, stopped at just the right time, and it was good for him. So good work. And my driver who couldn't wait for it to be over, Lewis, because he already gave up on Saturday. And he did finish the race, and he was classified. And I feel sorry for Lewis, and I really hope everything in his life is okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Who's your driver of the day, Mr.?
I went for Oscar for almost pulling it off and, really making a good charge back on Lando late in the race on the old tires. I think maybe if he had maybe another lap or two, I think he would have been able to pull it off. But overall, I think that McLaren, it does not have a very powerful DRS. It doesn't necessarily follow the best. So, I think it was always going to be very hard. But yeah, I think Oscar was calm, cool, collected, drove a really great race, proved why he is in the position he is in.
And who couldn't wait for it to be over?
That would be one Max Verstappen, because he pitted really early, went on the hards, didn't look like it was going to be a working strategy. Then all of a sudden was in fifth, and it's like, oh, this is interesting. And then they pit him again. At that point, just leave him out.
Yeah, how bad could it be?
Yeah, it's because if you pit him, he's not going to make it back to fifth. He's not it's already proven the track is not overtaking everything else. How many more? Okay, so what is the pit delta? Do we know what the pit delta is?
20 something.
20-something seconds. So if the pit delta was 20 seconds and I subtract 20 seconds from his race time, that would have put him... So he was 20... No, that would have put him in P5 because he only finished 13 seconds behind Fernando Alonso.
He should have just goal hung for a safety car, and if it didn't come, he'd have been fine.
Yeah, exactly.
So
So that makes me question, like, I know it's been 2 races, but that kind of question decision-making for everything else makes me really question the current leadership at Red Bull and if they have what it takes.
So the question here is just because they changed it for Mr. Mekis does not change that Hannah Schmidt has been throwing some proper blinders of strategy over the years.
It changes top-down directive. It changes trust.
True. Could be that they were a different directive of we would like to play this safe, and our belief here is to play it safe. I can subscribe to that theory.
I mean, you could make the same argument about a former employer of ours where it was like, we had a team put together that was performing very well, and then the top-down directives changed, and everybody started jumping ship.
So what you're saying is Ferrari should call up Hannah Schmidt and offer as much money as she possibly wants and get her to come to Ferrari and fix the strategies there while being given carte blanche to make aggressive calls.
I mean, it has to be that way. Like you can't overrule your strategist. But also, it's the case of you have to also be aware of what's going on track. And I don't know, Red Bull to me seemed today to be in a data gathering phase and granted, we knew they were never going to be good on this track. They like fast flowy corners. I think I could see Max winning Monza easily because they love fast flowing corners and that's all Monza is. But yeah, we knew this wasn't going to be a good track for them and they really leaned into it not being a good track for them.
You have just reminded me of a quote that I saw from George Russell after the race. When you mentioned Monza, because my brain was like, of course, Ferrari will try everything in Monza.
Of course.
Apparently, one of the reasons that the chassis/car was not behaving correctly is supposed by George is because it was an illegal car and they'd run it too low. And the choice that Ferrari made was because they can't change the ride height of the car, they increased the tire pressures and everything went out the window. And George thinks it's an illegal car. And I hate to agree with George, but it's possible.
I won't agree that it's an illegal car, but we've seen the Ferrari have ride height issues and plank wear issues this whole season. And so it could be it's a potentially legal car if they put it in its or illegal car if it's in the operating window it needs to be.
Yes. Which is really less a legal car, a legal setup, maybe is the right way of saying it. Yeah,
I think, I don't think the car is illegal, but I think it has, on the right wear patterns for the right race, it could become, because it passes all the scrutineering, pre and post race and everything else. Mm-hmm. So the car is clearly legal. However, I believe the car can race itself into an illegal position, as we saw earlier in the season.
Yeah, there was two instances, right? Once was in China, and then there was another one where it was somewhere else where they looked at it and they had to... Oh, that was when there was some other sprint race. They changed the setup and it was all a bit crap after that. So, teams...
Because the plank works just fine on wear for the sprint race.
Yeah, just enough.
Because it's only a third of distance or something like that.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yep. Which team brief do you... Which team's debrief would you like to be in?
I think we're in agreement on this one. It's got to be Ferrari.
Yes. I want to experience that much sadness in my life because then I know what bottom really is like.
No one ever cries in a Ferrari. I have 2 examples for you. Yeah.
They don't cry in the Ferrari. They cry when they get out of the Ferrari.
No, because then they got to go to the media pit and go, "Oh, it was great. I was in pole position, then I ended up off the podium. It was great. Good day. Go team."
I visited Formula Dank, and you know the meme of the guy who pulls a gun on somebody with the car. It's like, "I'm going to call an ambulance for you."
Yeah.
Except this time it was Lewis saying, pulling out the gun and like, "You're going to call an ambulance for me." It's terrible. I feel bad.
There was a meme at the Hungaroring. The old confused computer guy Harold was around.
I saw it with Alonso. Alonso posted a picture on his whole the Instagrammy thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Interesting. Also, apparently they filmed lots of movies. There were lots of movie stars there this weekend. So
yeah, Budapest is a happening movie spot
because it's cheap.
Yeah, it fills in a lot for Prague.
Exactly.
You know where it's expensive? Prague. You know it's cheap? Budapest. To be fair, Budapest does look beautiful. I'd love to go one day.
It does look like a very nice place.
It looks like if you wanted to go to Prague for cheap.
Get those EasyJet flight. No, knowing EasyJet, you'd buy the EasyJet Luton to Prague flight, but would actually stop in Budapest instead, because that's exactly what EasyJet would do.
I'm just thinking if you, hold on, I'm looking at a map because I'm just curious in the sense of like what middle of nowhere.
How far Budapest is?
No. You'd end up in like Slovakia or something. Like if you're trying to go to Budapest or Prague on EasyJet.
No, I am going to do this. Prague and Oklahoma. No, thank you. Let's see how long it takes to drive from Prague to. Apparently, I can't drive there from here. Budapest. It is a 4-hour, 55-minute journey, which is probably well within EasyJet's limit for exactly how far you can be from the airport before it has to be another city. Oh, you have to go via Vienna.
The American mind cannot comprehend the 6-hour drive between Prague and Budapest. 2 countries away.
That's shorter than the distance to California. It's less than 2 states away.
I can't even get to Medford in 6 hours.
Shall we move on to Championship Watch?
Sure. I don't like it.
No. Oscar's Championship is slipping away. Only 9 points ahead of Lando. No wins.
But don't worry, because nobody will care when we're all dead.
Yes! That's exactly the attitude a Formula One driver should have when they are literally, the purpose of their job is to fight for the championship.
I do think that is the attitude of somebody that was like really pumped up this whole offseason of like, oh yeah, man, it's you. It's going to be yours to lose. It's all yours this season. You got this. It's all on you. And then your teammate comes along and punches you in the mouth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because let's not forget the great Mike Tyson quote of everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth.
Is that really a Mike Tyson quote?
Yeah, it's a fantastic quote.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It's so apt for boxing too. Of everybody has a plan until you get punched in the mouth.
Yeah. Apparently, this means that Oscar is now equal. Oh, sorry, Lando is equal to Danny, Rick, and Perez in the win count.
Yep.
Yes. I see what you're saying. I thought when I read this as we were going towards it, I thought you were saying Oscar was 1 win behind. But now I understand your point. Lando, no wins, is the Danny Rick / Sergio Perez. And so it's nothing but downhill from here.
But I think it's interesting, especially Valtteri, because Valtteri looked like pretty good for those several seasons he was with Merck, or at least good enough. And it's weird to think that Lando is now only 1 win behind Valtteri. And it just, as much as we like Valtteri as a driver, I just think it shows that like he was never... He never had enough porridge.
But the thing you need to look at is what happens if you take Lewis out of the mix.
That's a good question. But, I guess the question there is Valtteri a replacement level, or is Valtteri an above replacement level driver? To borrow a baseball stat.
You need to remind me about the replacement level thing again.
So
you've explained this, and I apologize for forgetting.
So in baseball, there is a heavily analytical stat called WAR, wins above replacement. And essentially, it's kind of a metric of like how valuable are you to the team, in the sense of if you were gone and we had to replace you with the average Major League Baseball player, what a replacement level player, so kind of an average player, like how much better are you than an average player? So
I see.
I'm not sure Valtteri is an above replacement level driver.
I think I would agree with that.
That if we take Lewis out of the Mercedes in the years that Valtteri was in the Mercedes, I'm not sure if you put another driver in there, that driver also doesn't just beat Valtteri.
I would agree with that
especially when we think of the drivers who probably would have filled that role.
Nico, maybe Rosberg. That is, if he hadn't.
Yes. What if we were to Marvel's what if this? What if 2016, instead of a Nico Rosberg snap retirement, it was a Lewis Hamilton snap retirement because he couldn't handle being beaten by Brittany?
Yeah, exactly.
And then so Bottas went up against Nico, and I think Nico would have won 3 championships.
I think that's distinctly possible. I think it's possible Bottas would have squeaked in one because Rosberg, after winning 2 more in a row, would have been complacent.
Yeah,
and then Bottas would have won one, but that was because the car was great. But I still think Mr. Bottas should be back in Formula One. But
it would be interesting though if that was where Danny jumped to, if like Danny Rick jumped to Mercedes, if like Lewis just magically popped out.
Yeah,
and Danny was done with the Red Bull, like that would have been interesting.
Yeah. What if? We need to get out the what if machine. Speaking of what if Max ends up behind George, who is only 15 points behind Max, and that's very disappointing. I don't want to hear that. I don't want that. As much as I'd like Max to be out of the third just to be able to trigger his clause and decide not to trigger his clause, but not trigger it. I don't want him to be beaten by George. Charles.
Sure.
Is Charles already in front of him?
Charles is currently sitting P5 in the standings. He is 36 points behind Max.
Too far. Need another win in there.
Well, there's still so much racing left to go, and so much more Red Bull could screw up.
Totally. Spicy takes and rumors?
Spicy takes and rumors. Yes, I had one.
I have
you
one
have
too.
One. Yeah.
Lewis has spent the last 4 years wanting the cars to behave like non-ground effect cars. That is, he keeps dialing the setup, he keeps trying to find it, but they don't. They're different cars, right? He can't process that he can't get them into that feel, that vibe. And he's only able to hold on and not completely quit already because next year is not a ground effect era. They are different dynamics, but they won't run as low. They will have softer suspension. And this is specifically because ground effect cars are so low that Lewis's finely tuned Tushy can't feel the car, and so it can't work. It can't give him the vibes and the feelings that he needs because the car's basically riding its ass along the road all the time.
Okay, I'll buy it.
You will subscribe to my newsletter?
Yeah, I'll take it. I'll allow it.
Okay, good. Okay. What about your spicy take?
I think Lando Norris needs to go to Ferrari. Because if there's one team that wants their drivers to not think and for them to be able to coach them through in a whole race and do exactly what they say, that's the Ferrari team to a T, and that fits Lando Norris's driving style to a T. Needs to be told exactly what to do, and we'll do it.
I agree. Who is the other driver on the grid that they need who will do exactly what they're told to do?
George?
George and Lando together in a Ferrari. Yes, I will subscribe to that theory. That would be amazing.
I'm not sure Ferrari would allow two British drivers to infiltrate Ferrari.
Yeah, they probably want an Italian.
Yeah, the German was bad enough.
Exactly. And he didn't give them any success at all. So,
sorry, which German?
Which German? Predictions for the summer break?
You're the one that... my only prediction for the summer break was a shirtless George beach picture.
I think you're probably correct on that.
Which seems like a free square in summer break bingo.
It does feel like a free square. We're going to have to keep paying close attention to that because it's going to be extremely disappointing if we don't get a shirtless George picture for him to be ridiculed about. Okay, so I've got a lot here for the summer break.
Bonus points if it's a shirtless Jesus pose George picture.
Oh, no, we don't need that in the universe. And now it's going to
no, we don't. But if there's any driver that's going to give it to us, it's one George Russell.
Yeah, let's at least hope he doesn't do it in either Lisbon in Portugal or Rio de Janeiro in.
Oh, that would be great. He's up next to like Christ the Redeemer, shirtless, doing like the same pose.
Exactly.
Exactly. If he does that, we're just gonna have to like quit the podcast because the world does not make any sense anymore, and we have put that into the world, and we are at fault for that, and I can't believe it happened, and we would just need to sign on and say. It happened. We are sorry, and just resign. Turn off our podcasting mics.
I'm sorry that I'm going to put this into the world, but if any of our listeners happen to have access to a sufficiently capable AI model and would like to produce a picture of shirtless George Russell standing in front of Christ the Redeemer, please let us know, and I will make it the art for the episode. But back to my predictions for the summer break. Lewis will state that he's retiring, but it will be at the end of 2026. Like he's just going to say, I'm not renewing my contract. I'm doing this for one more year, blah, 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 etc. Franco's going to get fired. Yuki's going to get fired. Cadillac are going to announce Bottas and Perez as their driving pairing. Bortoletto gets assigned for a second season. Fernando announces that he's retiring. Big spicy take after today. George gets a contract. But Kimi does not yet get a contract. Not that he gets told that he's not getting a contract. He just doesn't have it yet because they need the second half of the season to see if he pulls his head out of his ass.
But he has a 2-year deal or a 3-year deal, doesn't he?
I don't think... I think he has a deal that can be extended. I think it's a 1+.
Oh, I thought it was a 2+.
Maybe I still think there's a good chance they'd fire him if it's a good chance. But we'll see what happens. So,
Hold on.
because actually, they've both talked about the fact that Kimi
Kimi
doesn't have a
and
contract for next season.
Contract. Oh, he did only sign a 1-year contract with Mercedes. That's
Because they thought they might get Max. That was the hope.
well, not at the end of 2024. They didn't.
My predictions for Zandvoort: Lewis out in Q1, Charles out in Q2, Max out of the points, Isaac in the top 6, and Piastri wins by 10 seconds.
That's going to be a race.
Yeah, but I can tell you, the only spicy part of that is Piastri winning by 10 seconds.
I disagree. The only spicy bit of that is Max out of the points, because the only time he's finished out of the points that wasn't like a crash classification or something like that was in the Red Bull was way back in 2016.
I understand your point, but it's a terrible car.
Yes.
And there is so much opportunity for them to screw it up over the summer break.
Yeah. My Zandvoort prediction is just sad, drunk Dutch fans, which kind of leads me to think about how well Max is going to do at Zandvoort, given his car does not like twisty corners.
How do you define a sad, drunk Dutch fan? How will we know? What is the falsifiability of this statement to make sure that we get it correct?
The flare smoke will look really sad.
Okay, so it'll be more hangy aroundy rather than goey uppy.
It'll look like a distress flare rather than a celebration flare.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Makes sense. Okay,
Yeah.
Great. Yep.
And then I think Oscar's going to rebound. I think he thought he had a good. I think he had a good race weekend. I think he's going to have a great summer break, and I think he's going to be ready to face the second half of the season. And my bold prediction for the second half of the season was that there will not be a title fight in Abu Dhabi.
I will subscribe to that. That is believable. It will be wrapped up before then.
Yeah.
And it'll be Lewis.
Do you remember a couple seasons ago, I think it was 2017 or 2018, when the Ferrari looked like, coming into Belgium in the summer break, the Ferrari suddenly looked like it had the measure of the McLaren, or not the McLaren, the Mercedes that Lewis was in. Lewis was looking at it like, where did they get all that pace? And then in the next couple races, Ferrari just absolutely imploded.
Classic Ferrari.
They pinched Max, and all three of them were out at Singapore. It feels like that's what's about to happen.
So you think Lando's going to collapse for the rest of the season?
I think Lando's going to have a collapse.
I will loosely subscribe to that.
I think he is going to go into the summer break feeling good about things, feeling like he has the way, and then I think Oscar's just going to come out and smack it at the back half.
Punch him in the mouth, and his plan's going to go to pieces. I will subscribe to that.
All right. Well, once again, we're waiting for your feedback and AI-generated art. So please write us at feedback@tinfoilhelmets.com and let us know your conspiracy theories, feedback, wants, and your AI art. Also, don't forget to tell your friends to like, rate, listen, subscribe, and remember to tune into our special F1 movie review that'll come out sometime during the summer break. I have no idea when.
Nor do I.
Oh, great. Well, one of us might be responsible for that.